Welcome back to Last Week in Star Citizen, the show in which I recap everything that happened last week in Star Citizen. From July 7th to July 11th, Cloud Imperium Games kept the momentum going with a series of important updates to the PTU, a closer look at one of their newest ships, and some serious behind-the-scenes work on cheating, economy balancing, and traversal mechanics. Whether you're testing the latest builds or just watching from the sidelines, there's a lot you may have missed, so let's get started and let's have a look at the highlights and break it down day by day. The week began with the usual This Week in Star Citizen post outlining the roadmap for content releases and community updates. While this Monday didn't come with a patch or feature release, it did set the tone for what turned out to be a rather busy and technically focused week for Star Citizen. Players were reminded of upcoming PTU patches, developer insights, and a brand new episode of Behind the Ships. Tuesday brought a major update to the PTU with the rollout of Alpha 4.2.1. One of the major updates here was perhaps a refinement to ship battle missions. If a player exits the mission area by more than 12 kilometers, the mission will now fail after a 5-second warning buffer. This change aims to discourage disengagement and keep players immersed in the combat zone. The highlight of the day, however, was the introduction of Ladders V2, a long-awaited overhaul of the game's climbing and traversal mechanics. Players can now look around while climbing and also enter or exit ladders at midpoints, leap off ladders directionally, and even crouch into tight exits. Collision detection has also been improved, requiring an intentional approach to engage ladders. Furthermore, players will fall off ladders if they become incapacitated, stunned, or overdosed, lending a more realistic touch to traversal. While these new mechanics were praised for adding immersion and utility, their temporary activation allowed the devs to gather valuable feedback for future refinement. On the backend, network thread stalls were also further optimized as well, continuing CIG's efforts here to stabilize server performances across the verse. The day also saw two key Spectrum communications from developers. The first one was an update on cheating and exploits, in which CIG addressed a recent rise in in-game abuse. The message clarified that while third-party tools were once tolerated to encourage creativity, the team is now enforcing stricter anti-cheat measures to preserve game integrity. A significant wave of bans had already been issued, and players were urged to report suspicious behavior. The second communication was a call for player feedback on the in-game economy. CIG invited citizens from all playstyles, miners, traders, pirates, mission runners, to complete a survey that would inform future economic balance. The developers emphasized on how critical the community input is in shaping a functional, player-driven economy that supports meaningful progression. On Wednesday, the development team confirmed that unfortunately Ladders V2 would be temporarily disabled for the remainder of 4.2.1 PTU cycle. The short-lived activation was intentional, designed to gather performance data and player feedback. The feature is now slated for full implementation in the upcoming 4.3 PTU phase. Players who contributed to the initial test phase were thanked, and further input was encouraged. Alongside gameplay adjustments, RSI Launcher version 2.5.1 was released. The updated launcher brought improvements to download and installation processes. It introduced a clearer separation between verify and install steps, queue reordering functionality, and enhanced offline messaging. A few bugs and errors, including a typo and some error message formatting, were corrected, continuing the push for smoother usability across all aspects of the Star Citizen ecosystem. Thursday's PTU patch refined several gameplay elements in Alpha 4.2.1. Ladders V2 was formally disabled in the build following Wednesday's announcement. Escort missions were updated to display the health on the mission's weakest ship and giving players better visual feedback for prioritizing protection. A notable change was also made to docked ships trespassing. Players are now only teleported if they are not in the owner's party and if the ship is docked, rather than based on a fixed radius near the station. This prevents unwanted interference while preserving legitimate cooperative gameplay. On the technical side, more work was done to reduce interaction delays and eliminate lingering network stall issues. That evening, the Behind the Ship YouTube series featured the reveal of the RSI Meteor, a powerful new medium or arguably heavy fighter built on the Mantis chassis. The ship boasts bespoke size 5 ballistic cannons, signaling a shift towards more specialized combat tools for players who want to dominate the battlefield in style. And if you want to see my reaction to the reveal of the RSI Meteor, you'll find the link in the pinned comment down there. To close the week, another update to the 4.2.1 PTU was published on Friday. This patch included polish to AI ships and resource gathering missions, enhancing their behavior and presentation. Escort mission boundaries were expanded to give players more leeway before mission failure, responding to community frustration with overly tight zone limits. Under the hood, additional network performance optimizations were rolled out, along with sanity checks for item stowing, which are critical for preventing inventory-related bugs. While not a flashy update, these backend improvements are essential steps toward long-term reliability of Star Citizen's core systems. Lastly, the RSI weekly newsletter was distributed, offering a summary of the week's event and spotlighting the community's ongoing involvement in PTU testing, ship design, feedback, and economy balancing. And so that wraps up last week in Star Citizen. From new gameplay systems like Ladder V2 to expanded mission parameters, backend networks improvements, and stronger anti-cheat enforcement, it was a week focused on tightening the screws of the persistent universe. With 4.3.0 looming on the horizon, these updates are setting the stage for another leap forward in performance and immersion. Until next week, well, stay safe guys in the verse. I have been Erad, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.
There'll come a time we'll have to be smart. Now what we have is just an illusion, a placeholder that's far from the final vision. Thou shalt not take what thou hast for granted. It's all subject to change, it's what they wanted, and it will stay so till release day. Pay attention, that's what they always say. But we still have a lot of time to prepare. We need to get ready for when it'll be